Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Marhaba. كيف الحال؟ كيف اليوم؟ إن شاء الله أنتم بخير. اسمي فاطمة. And today is VEDA day. We're on day 9. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. We're already at day 9. And day 9 is going to be about vocabulary building. Now, I may not share things like people talk about. I most likely won't be talking about like sentence mining and flashcards and stuff like that. Anki is just not my thing. Flashcards are just not my thing. I actually like to do other things. And for me, it's like find your own way, and whatever works for you works for you. But we are going to be talking about vocabulary because vocabulary literally is the building blocks and a huge part of being able to communicate in a language. You need the words to do it. Even if you're someone that uses sign language, you're signing words, you're communicating thoughts. And so vocabulary is going to be the way for us to do that. So inshallah, I am able to convey the message properly, and I'm also able to just discuss different techniques that you can use on how to expand your vocabulary in general for your target language. All right, yalla. So vocabulary, like I mentioned before, is the foundation for all things language and is important for many different reasons. Those 3 reasons are reading comprehension, communication, and personal relationships. Reading comprehension, reading is fundamental. Whether you are doing casual reading, whether you're reading because you are in school, whether you are working, like I think that the majority of people have to go throughout their day and spend time reading. That's why literacy, is very important. Words being written is a way for us to communicate thoughts. And that's very important as it relates to the next point, communication. A large vocabulary improves all areas of communication, including listening, right? When you hear a word being spoken, you can actually listen and know what it means. Speaking yourself, reading like we already mentioned, and writing. It allows people to choose the right words to convey their message accurately and persuasively. Now, I think accurately is more important. Persuasion might be used for like sales or something, or even I think like, you know what, no, that's true, because my son tries to persuade me all the time to do what he wants me to do. And then the last point is personal relationships. Vocabulary is a building block for expressing thoughts and ideas, sharing information, and growing personal relationships. That's true. Everybody always says, what is the one thing that makes relationships work? And we're talking about personal relationships, professional relationships, relationships in general. That is communication. Okay. And that's why even people who have a large vocabulary, they're able to use certain words. Like, for instance, someone said yesterday, I heard a podcast, trepidation. I'm like, ooh, you know what I mean? It makes you kind of want to be engaged a little bit more in the conversation, because you're like, what did you say? Oh my gosh, like you actually want that word to be used so that I know exactly what you mean. And that's something that I would talk to my therapist about all the time. Was I wish I spoke another language, because I don't have the words in English to convey the reality of my feelings. You know what I mean? Like in certain languages, there are so many different words that mean love. And so many different levels and layers of love. And, you know, in English, we just say like, I love everything. Like, oh, I love that meal. I love that dog. I love this house. I love my car. I love these shoes. I love this purse. Like, we just throw that word around, and it means different things for different entities in different languages. So I wanted to just talk about like why it's important for you to even understand why building your vocabulary is essential if you're not already aware. So how have I been building my vocabulary? I'm only going to just speak about my elementary Arabic class because that's the most relevant thing. I think language learning apps and other programs, there's many different ways that they use, but I wanted to talk about traditional school in quotes. I say traditional because I can't really compare this to me learning Spanish in high school, because it was so long ago that I forgot how I actually learned Spanish. But I know that this is a traditional way because we are using books. It is being graded and it's not as casual as other things for solo learners. So one of the main things that we do in the beginning is we get a list of vocabulary for that particular week that we're going to go over. Now, this can be from the book, Alif Ba, or Al-Kitab, or the handouts that the professor, Ustada, provides us in the class. So we have that vocabulary list, right? So with the vocabulary list from the books that I mentioned, they also have a DVD, MP3, or the companion website that you can use to actually hear the pronunciation of those words. And then you'll go throughout that week drilling the words in different ways for pronunciation, right? You'll have different exercises for you to do as well throughout that week. The book really emphasizes activating the vocabulary, so I'll talk about that separately in a second. But the way that my ustada has us activate the vocabulary is having reading practice, where we listen to her read a particular story that is comprised of vocabulary, and then we have to repeat that story as well and read it ourselves. So we're reading it and then we're also speaking. So in this, we are doing 3 different things. We're listening to her, we're reading it ourselves, and then we are speaking it ourselves as well. All of that is helping to cement that vocabulary because you're using your context clues, you're using your memory to cement those things into your long-term memory, hopefully, inshallah, because you are practicing it. You're practicing listening, you're practicing reading, and then you're actually speaking. So that is how we normally go throughout the week. Also, as we progressed on from week 1 to 8, we also had writing exercises as well, where she emphasized, do not use any words that are colloquial. Use Fasa. That's what we're focusing on right now so that you don't confuse yourself. Do not use any words that you have not learned in the class, right? So that's her way of kind of creating a boundary. Like, you have these 10 to 12 handouts that I've given you. You have all these units in the book that we've gone over together. Use these words to answer the questions that I have for you. So she'll provide like a list of questions. It can range from like 5 to 7, 7 to 12, whatever it may be for that particular day or assignment. And those questions, you need to answer them in Arabic and use the vocabulary from the class. So the question is going to be relevant, right? Like, she's not going to ask a question knowing that you probably have to reach for vocabulary. And even so, she says, you don't have to be truthful if you don't want to tell, your personal business, but you need to create a fictitious story or something to answer it in Arabic. Like, that is the important part. That is the most important part. Making sure that you're using the vocabulary that you are learning at that time. So for me, that is the reason why I don't really use flashcards. Although she does provide us with Quizlet decks for flashcards as well, that she created throughout the years for us to use. And I think that that's great. I do like Quizlet because you can do flashcards, you can do like different types of tests and things of that nature. And maybe that's a whole application that I can deep dive into, inshallah, in the future. But that is something that she does provide the class to kind of give you options. But for me, I'm a person that likes to be able to read, to listen, do the drills, write things out by answering the questions and things of that nature. Also, because this is a class that's online, we are using trust a lot as well. I don't think that it's a good idea for you to use any resources that's gonna make you cheat, aka Chat GPT, like, hey, create this answer for me. Because if you don't understand it and it's wrong, like, it's gonna be very obvious that you did not do this assignment yourself, that you did use outside help. And also for me, although I am getting my associate's degree, I don't need the degree. That's not to be cocky, alhamdulillah, that I don't need it, but I'm getting it because if I'm going to take the classes, why not give me another degree? I'll take it. But the whole point is that this degree is not going to be utilized in a way to where it's like I need to make the absolute best grades ever. Although I do have a really good grade, I have an A, and I'm very excited about that, alhamdulillah. But what I'm saying is that I actually do put in the work and I trust the process. So that process is getting limited vocabulary. We probably get like less than 20 words a week. Limited vocabulary, and then actually doing the things that are necessary for us to activate that vocabulary as it relates to realistic conversations that you may have, whether you're introducing yourself, introducing your family, talking about your life in very basic, superficial conversations. You know, when you first meet someone, they're going to ask you your name, your age, where are you from, where's your family from, what do you do for work, or are you currently in school, are you a student, and if you are, like, what are you studying, you know, things of that nature. Or if you are out and about and you're shopping, for instance, you want to talk about the color, things, ask about the price, things of that nature. So it's like trusting the process and knowing, like, I'm building on this. So for me, no matter how you go about doing that, whether it be sentence mining and doing all those things, or using flashcards and trusting that process, I say just stick with it and trust it. And go with the flow, and you'll know when you need to change things. For me, I just knew that flashcards just wasn't my thing. I don't like sitting there going through it. It's just not for me. But I like to do the things that my ustada has us do. So hopefully this helped. I know that it wasn't like in any type of like definitive, this is the prescription for you to do, because I don't think that that's how language learning should be. You have to figure out what works for you, and that is the reason why I personally do like traditional language learning. I guess you can say, or language learning with under the umbrella of traditional language learning, because it just gives me structure, boundaries, and it does not allow me to overwhelm myself, because I know that I'm only focused on this vocabulary to convey these thoughts and to practice these things for reading, writing, speaking, listening. And grammar and vocabulary building as well is thrown in there also. So that's pretty much it. Shukran for tuning in. Please like this video if you liked it. Comment your thoughts. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to our little community. And until next time, folks, ma'asalama.